Now, we'll be back, and you're still watching Financial Markets. We are still looking and breaking down analytically the markets as they played out on Friday. Markets open at 9 a.m. and they close at 1 p.m. East African Standard Time. My name is Anthony, your host. Now, Friday's market, I just want to think about yesterday, but Friday markets didn't turn out so well for the all-share index, given the fact that we had 7 losers on the market and only 3 gainers. The good news was definitely the gainers were Ugandan companies, the 3 of them, and the 7 losers were all cross-listed from Kenya. Well, not so good news for us, for our neighbors there, but at least we can say we are glad at least we had some activity within the local domestic companies. And right now, looking at the all-share index, there was a decline in the all-share index from about 335, and now we are looking at a drop to 341, and this is a significant drop of about 8.12 basis points, and that is a 0.6% daily loss on the all-share index. However, on a weekly basis, we are seeing that there was a gain still, a weekly gain of 2.54%, and a 4-week basis, we are seeing a 7.15%, a 5.61% gain there, loss on the year-to-date and a gain on the weekly basis. Regarding the local company index, on the other hand, increased by 0.95%, reaching 276.47 points, making it a 1-week gain of 0.175% and a 4-week loss of 0.85%, looking at also a year-to-date loss of 14.84%. Generally, a good performance for the local companies, bad performance overall. And looking at that graph for the Uganda Securities Exchange All-Share Index, it doesn't look pretty bad. You're seeing prices, the points basically rising from 1,200 slightly over the month of August, and we are getting to the point of 1,400, which we last had back in the month of February 2022, and the month of January as well. So generally, yes, there was a drop on a daily basis, but on overall, there's a good performance that was put up by the companies here, and now we are hoping for the best today. But the local company, like I've said, local company index, because when we look at the indices or indexes that are listed on the Uganda Securities Exchange, we only have the overall, that is the all-share index, and the local company index, that is LCI, which improved, and the all-share index, which went down slightly. Those, of course, are some of the indicators of performance on the stock market, and they help us to realize how much the stock performance is based on their average performance there on the stock market. Now, let's move on to another top gainer. We've looked at Uganda Clays. We've also looked at MTN. The other gainer was Stanbic Bank Uganda. Now, Stanbic Bank yesterday went up by 0.24 points or Ugandan shillings to close at 21.24. Yes, some people may think that this is actually a very small increase, but it's a significant one when it comes to the stock market. Can you imagine you had maybe 1 billion shares? If you had 1 billion shares and you sold them at that price of 21.24, which you bought at 21 Ugandan shillings, because that was the closing price on Thursday, you're going to make a profit of over 240 million. That is not something small. So that's a significant rise there of 0.24 Ugandan shillings and a 1.14% increase in the price over the weekend on Friday. And looking at the graph of this particular counter, you can see, well, good fluctuations in between there, the month of December all the way to the month of February, and then a steady drop in prices over the months of, for example, you're looking at April, July, June. All those months were bad for this particular counter, but it's trying to regain its strength really and come back strong. A little about Stanbic Bank Uganda. It is part of the leading financial services group known as Standard Bank, and this is the largest financial institution in Africa as well in Uganda, and it's licensed under the Financial Institutions Act of 2004. The bank was founded in Uganda, however, as the National Bank of India back in 1906, and after several name changes, and it became Grindlays Bank. And then later on, when Standard Bank Group bought the Grindlays Bank network in Africa, it also took over this particular Bank of India in 1993 in October to re-establish its presence as Uganda's Stanbic Bank. Now, Stanbic Bank operates over 71 points of representation and a growing network of automated teller machines, numbering up to 111. The bank is located all over Uganda, with Stanbic Bank's head offices at, of course, here along plot 42 Nile Avenue, and definitely they have their offices there to support their functions operation. They have been listed since the 25th of January 2007, and Stanbic is traded on the Uganda Securities Exchange under ticker symbol SBU, as you can see there on your screen, and they are the fifth most valuable stock on the Uganda Securities Exchange, with a market capitalization of over 1.09 trillion Ugandan shillings, which is about 4.71% of the entire Uganda Securities Exchange. And still looking at their performance on Friday, they had a total volume of 55,700 shares that were traded, and a gross turnover of 1.18 million Ugandan shillings that was traded. And their shares outstanding are currently 51.2 billion shares, bringing their market capitalization to over 1.09 trillion Ugandan shillings. This is Stanbic for you. Now, we are seeing some green figures getting back onto the Stanbic counter. Remember, after recent analysis, we have showed you as Stanbic was limping a little bit on the stock market with prices coming in as they were declining. But now let's look at Friday's closure market at 21.24. Now this was a 1.1% in terms of gain. However, Stanbic began the year with a price of 26 Ugandan shillings and has since lost about 18.3% of their price valuation, and that brings them to a ranking of 12th in terms of year-to-date performance on the Uganda Securities Exchange. Stanbic Bank Uganda, however, is the third most traded stock. This is where things get interesting. Much as we can knock them out on the year-to-date performance, yes, it's very poor at the 12th position, but in terms of trading, yes, they're trying their best. We're seeing that they're coming in position number 3 in terms of the most traded stock over the last 3 months, from the 10th of May to the 12th of August, year 2022. Stanbic Bank Uganda, within this period alone, has been able to transact a total of about 18.8 million shares. And these are valued at 403 million Ugandan shillings over the period, with an average of 299,113 traded shares per session on average, and a volume high of 10.2 million that was done on the 8th of August, just recently, last week, for the same period. And when you look at their market activity, they have trading on 12th, they have trading on 11th, they have trading on the 8th, they have trading on the 4th, and so on and so forth. Almost on a daily basis, they have some kind of trading done. And that's the opportunity you can find at Stanbic Liquidity. Very cheap stock and very liquid, because they're coming in with huge amounts of volumes, at least on average, every single week. They're having at least 4 or 5 days of trading, really, which is a good activity. And definitely we attribute this to the low price of the stock. 21 shillings, honestly, 21. I mean, with 21,000, you have over 1,000 shares. With 210,000, you have over 10,000 shares. So that is particularly a very interesting stock. In terms of 3 months, however, they're still on the losing side. And in terms of the 6 months, they're still on the losing side, about 15% or decline in terms of that particular 6 months performance. And then 1 year performance, you're seeing at 19.9% loss, year to date still in the negative. However, like I said, the opportunity here is they're providing liquidity, and they have a very active stock for trading, meaning they can be easily relied on in case you want to sell as quickly as possible. So yes, the Stanbic Bank is a very tradable stock and an attractive stock for you to be able to take part and enjoy some of the facts that they are a liquid market with a very good activity on the stock market here in Uganda. That was Stanbic Bank Uganda for you, who came in the 3rd place in terms of the top gainers last week. Now let's look at Kenya Airways, who came in at the bottom. Unfortunately, Kenya Airways is a Kenyan aviation company. We all know Kenya Airways since 1977 when it was breaking off from the East African Airlines that was dissolved in the same year, 1977. And after dissolution of this East African Airlines, we're seeing that Kenya Airways became independent and started its own national career back then in 1977. And it has grown to the fact that it's one of the blue chip companies that are listed on Nairobi Securities Exchange, and it has attained that blue chip status with time, of course, after being listed on the Nairobi Securities Exchange for a very long time. On the Uganda Securities Exchange, it was able to list on the 28th of March in the year 2002, and in terms of value, it is the 7th most valuable stock with a total of 695 billion Ugandan shillings, which makes about 3.01% of the Uganda Securities Exchange entire equity market. And that graph there, definitely we have seen, is what represents the performance of this particular stock, looking at, for example, their prices between December 2021 to February 2022, almost invariable at 120 Ugandan shillings, only going slightly above maybe the months before in October, and only about a peak there around the month of Feb, which peaked didn't last and then came back down, and then another slight decline there, a sharp decline, and then back to the 120. So it's a very stable stock, so to say, in terms of pricing. They don't have much shifting and so on. Now, yes, on Friday they didn't have any volumes traded, but they have a total of 5.68 billion shares that are outstanding, and their market capitalization is 695 billion Ugandan shillings. Kenya Airways is headed by Alan Kilavuka, who is the company's managing director and CEO. And then it has a board of directors, which is chaired by Michael Joseph, who is a 75-year-old, and is composed of 13 members, whose names you can find definitely when you search about Kenya Airways. And yes, does it provide really any opportunities? Not much activity, really not much, despite the fact that they have lost. Still, I wouldn't really encourage you right now to buy stock in Kenya Airways, because you may find difficulty in trading on this counter, because over the last months we haven't seen any activity at all for several months on the counter. But currently it's one of the bottom losers, and definitely one of the companies that are trading at 124 Ugandan shillings on the stock market. Centum Investments Company, yesterday or Friday as well, came in as a bottom loser, and Centum is been trading on the USE, Uganda Securities Exchange, since the 10th of February 2011, and currently Centum is the 13th most valuable stock on the Uganda Securities Exchange, with a total of 203 billion Ugandan shillings in terms of market capitalization, and that's about 0.879% of the Uganda Securities Exchange. Now that is the graph for the performance of Centum there since last year in the month of October. Now, there's an average decline in prices. However, yes, on Friday we had a decline of 1.3%, down by 4.01 Ugandan shillings, off to close at 304.8 Ugandan shillings per share on the exchange. And they have a total number of shares outstanding at 665 million, and a market capitalization of 203 billion Ugandan shillings. Now, closing this day, we recorded a 1.9% drop again, and Centum began the year, however, with a price of 444.82 Ugandan shillings, but has since lost 31.5% of their price valuation, having a very poor year-to-date performance, bringing it in the 15th position on the exchange. Centum still not so good at trading, but comes in position number 8 in terms of the most traded stocks on the Uganda Securities Exchange over the last 3 months. That is from the 10th of May to the 12th of August 2022. It has traded a total volume of 109,200 shares within this period that are valued at 31.7 million Ugandan shillings over the period, with an average of 1,733 traded shares per session, and a volume high of 100,000, which was achieved on July 19th within the same period. And when you look at the activity, yes, it's moderate, it's not that bad, it's not that good, but we're seeing some good volumes, 7,800 on the 11th, you're seeing 1,200 on the 8th of August, and then 100,000 on the 19th of July. So on average, yes, there's some good activity, some moderate activity really to say, on the counter at Centum Investment Company. It's a cross-listed company from Kenya. It's an investment company that specializes in investment, helping people to invest and be able to get some returns on their interest. The other losers, we had KCB Group, we had Jubilee Holdings, but interestingly, we wanted to put one performer who didn't have any movements in price, either gaining or losing, but traded the highest volume, and that is Bank of Baroda Uganda. Bank of Baroda is known as one of the most traded stocks. Now let's look at each detailed performance for the day on Friday afternoon. Now, Bank of Baroda incorporated, of course, as in 1969 as a subsidiary of Bank of Baroda India, is one of the leading banks in Asia, which has over 2,750 branches in over 17 countries. The bank has been incorporated and operates in Uganda since 1953, when it began as an overseas branch of Bank of Baroda India. And subsequently, due to its operation, the Ugandan government acquired 49% stake of Bank of Baroda, leaving Baroda India with the remaining 51%. Bank of Baroda, however, is one of the main international investment banks we have around, and definitely has been listed on the Uganda Securities Exchange since the 14th of November in the year 2002. Still over 20 years of being listed on the exchange. So we have a very good experience of the bank, at least trading on the Uganda Securities Exchange. Now, when you look at their value, they are the 12th most valuable stock. They have the 12th most valuable stock with a total market capitalization of over 213 billion Ugandan shillings that are traded at about, when you look at their percentage of the equity market in Uganda, they contain about 0.921% of the entire Uganda Securities Exchange equity market. Their closing price was 85 Ugandan shillings. However, they traded a total volume of over 2 million shares on the market on Friday. And the gross turnover, meaning the amount of money that was transacted on Bank of Baroda over these 2 million shares, was 170 million. Now, we're talking about a company that's trading at 85 shillings, trading over 170 million within a single day. Okay? And this is why this is very, very, very fascinating. Bank of Baroda began the year with a price of 95.5 Ugandan shillings, and currently is trading at 85, meaning it has lost about 11% of their price valuation, and this ranks it on the 11th position in terms of year-to-date performance on the Uganda Securities Exchange. However, like we have seen over that 2 million shares, they are the number one most traded stock, meaning you will find liquidity at its best at Bank of Baroda, Uganda. Now, this bank, within the last 3 months, that is the 10th of May to the 12th of August, it has traded a total volume of 34.7 million shares. No one is even close to that on the exchange. 34 million shares on the Uganda Securities Exchange. And they are valued at a total of 2.93 billion within 3 months. 2.93 billion Ugandan shillings. That's what we're talking about when you talk about Bank of Baroda. And they have had averages. They are on average, every trading session where they have had some activity, on average they trade about 550,214 shares on average. And a volume high of 27.5 million was achieved on the July 13th, 2022, within the same period of 3 months. And we are seeing that this, of course, ranks it the number one most traded, not valuable. They're the 12th most valuable, but they're the number one most traded, meaning they have a lot more activity than any other counter on the Uganda Securities Exchange. You can see volumes. They're good at trading very huge volumes. 2 million shares, 1.1 million shares, 27.5 million shares on several days during trading. So if you're looking at buying a very tradable stock, and you're looking at also buying huge amounts or selling huge amounts, yes, Bank of Baroda is providing you with that opportunity. They have competitors on the market who they are outperforming at the moment, including, for example, Equity Bank, National Insurance Corporation, Stanbic Bank Uganda, and the rest of the other counters. Now, that definitely gives us a summary of the entire Uganda Securities Exchange top gainers and bottom losers. We're going to go into a quick break. We return with the other people who didn't move on the market, who didn't have any price movements, but are still trading on the market, and also a summary that winds up business on the Uganda Securities Exchange. And as well, we'll link into the Nairobi Securities Exchange. After the election aftermath, what's happening to their market. Let's go to a short break. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere.